Now we're going to look at converting a number that's stored as a string to a numeric type. And we're going to work with integers in this particular example, but the approach that we use, some of these approaches apply for things like double as well. So if we've got a text, maybe we've got it from the user, or it's come from a text file that we've read or something like that, we need to attempt to convert it to a number. Now obviously this is something that could fail, okay, because we might find if we don't have control over where this string has come from, it might not store a number in a valid format. But assuming it is valid, we'll have a look at how that can work. So the integer class has a static method called parseInt, okay, and we can pass in the string that we want. So in this case, it's number as text, and it will return an int value. So we could say number equals integer.parseInt number as text, okay, and all being well, we can run that, and it will print out our number for us. And there we go, there is our answer. Similarly, it can also make use of a radix. So we might suggest, for example, that our number, let's say our number actually was a binary string, okay. We can pass in a radix as the second value to that. Okay, so in this case, radix 2, base 2, binary. And it will convert this to an integer, and because when we print out an integer, it does the implicit conversion using the decimal system, base 10, we'll get that value in base 10. So if we look at it, we've got a 1 plus a 4 plus a 32, so 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, all being well, will be our output. Okay, so that's all well and good. The problem can come that we might do something like this. I'll just get rid of the radix for now. Okay, so clearly this is not a number in the form that we'd represent using digits. So let's run that and see what happens. Okay, so we can see here we have got what's called a number format exception. So what we have done has failed. It's obviously not possible to do this. So if we want to ensure that we can have it work, we could wrap this code in a try catch block. So we could say try and exit this code. Otherwise, we could catch the number format exception, and the convention is to name that with the letter E, and then we might do something else. So typically in this instance, we might need a number to be there at the end, so we could declare the number outside the loop. We could say int number equals 0, and then we could try and set that value to whatever comes from here. If it fails, we might say to the user, unable to convert to a number using the 0 instead. And then the user knows what's going on, and then in this case we print out our value. So if we do that, 0 is printed out, but if we've got a valid number in here, then we should see the output that we want. Okay, so we need to be aware that calling parseInt can fail. I guess there's one other thing just to add here, is that as well as using integer.parseInt, which returns an int, the primitive data type, it's also possible to use the value of method. Okay, so if we do integer.valueOf, the difference here is that it actually returns the integer class type. Okay, now Java will do an implicit conversion, but it is sort of giving us a warning. So typically we'd use that if we were going to use the class type of integer. We're not currently using any of the features of that, and it's telling us it could be primitive, but if later on we were to use, for example, one of the methods that belongs to the integer type, for example, to get the double value of this integer, then we could do that. So that's another way of converting between data types. If we declare our data type as its class type, as it's what's called its boxed type, once we've done that, we could then say, for example, double number as double, and then, no, there we go, equals, and then we've got our number, and we can use, for example, double value to get that value out of it. So if we're just working with the primitive type, and we need to work with the primitive type, you probably want to use integer.parseInt. If we're working with the class type, because we might need to do some kind of additional work with that number, then you can use value of instead.